Welcome to CrashMagic and to this week's card trick video. In this one we've got a performance that I hope you enjoy, and if you do, I'll show you exactly how you can learn this trick straight after. Today we're going to try an extrasensory perception or ESP experiment, one in which we're going to test your abilities. We don't need the jokers. So, how good would you say your powers of intuition are? Are you good at being able to sense things that you can't see? We're only going to need 12 cards, but I want to arrange them in a particular way. Okay. In a second, I'll show you how I've set these cards up, but first we also need a red and a black card. Let's use the King of Diamonds as the red card. And King of Clubs as the black card. These are going to be our indicator or marker cards for our experiment. Okay, back to these cards, and I've set them up in 6 pairs so that each pair is made up of a red and a black card. The test we're going to perform is to see how possible it is for you to detect the colour of a card without looking at it. You'll be selecting 6 cards, one from each of these pairs of cards. The chance of you getting 3 or more correct is about 65%, so good odds of getting at least 3 right. But then the chances of getting more than 3 right by chance alone drops rapidly, and the probability of you correctly guessing the correct colour for all 6 of these pairs is only about 1.5%. So guessing alone is not a good strategy. You'll need to use some sort of intuition or gut feeling to help increase those odds. Let's start the experiment then. Let's take the first pair, and I'd like you to select which one you think is the red card out of these 2. I'm going to mix them up in case you've remembered which one it is. And now if you can choose the one that you think is red. This one, okay. Now the next 2 cards, so this time I'd like you to choose which one you think is the black card out of these 2. Which one would you choose? This one, okay. Next pair. Again, if you can choose which you think is the red one out of these 2. This one. And now which do you think is the black card out of these 2 cards? Which you choose? This one. Okay, from this pair, which do you think is the red card? And last pair of cards, which of these 2 do you think is the black one? This one, okay. These are the cards you discarded. So for each pair of cards you chose the card you thought would match the colour, and these are the 6 cards you selected. The cards you thought were red and the cards that you thought were black. How do you think you did? I'd say pretty good. Well, that was the trick, and this is the tutorial. This is a bit like an out of this world light trick. I've previously done a tutorial video on my favourite out of this world method, which requires no setup at all. This card trick does require a setup, but it's then incredibly easy to perform, self-working, and there's no sleight of hand moves. Although a setup's needed, you can do this as part of the trick, because you make it clear to your spectator that you're setting the cards up in a particular order. It's just that you aren't setting them up quite how you say you are. Let's take a look then at that setup that we need for this trick. So on the top of the pack we're going to need 13 cards. So these are those cards here. I've already got them set up. So if we spread them out, we're going to have 6 pairs of cards and then another card on top. So we start with a red card on top, then 2 blacks, 2 reds, 2 blacks, 2 reds, 2 blacks and 2 reds. So that's 6 pairs of cards, blacks and reds, with just a single red on top, and that's our setup of 13 cards. So if you like, you can set those cards up beforehand, put them on top of the pack, start with your trick with the cards in the card box, begin your trick, and you've already got your setup done. Now you're going to tell your spectator that you're going to arrange the top cards in red black order. So at this point you would pretend to change the order of these cards, maybe swap a red with a red, a black with a black, but actually keep them in the same order, and then those are the 13 cards that you'd use. But as I said, you can instead have your spectator shuffle the cards at the start, so don't have the setup done. Have your spectator shuffle the cards and then say that you're going to set up the top 12 cards. Don't show the cards as you're doing this, and then do that setup in front of your spectator without them seeing the cards. Set up those top 13 cards. So we then set up the one red card at the top, followed by 2 blacks, 2 reds, 2 blacks, 2 reds, 2 blacks, 2 reds. So as you're doing this, this is a perfect time to start explaining what you're going to do in this trick and how the spectator is going to be involved. As I say, mention at this point as well that you're only going to use 12 cards. Don't make a big thing and keep saying it, but if you just mention it once that you're only going to use 12 cards, 6 pairs of cards, and then once you've got that setup done, place those 13 cards down on the table. Of course the spectator doesn't know there's 13, they'll think there's only 12, and then we need a red and a black card. You can use any red and black card for this. I like to use 2 cards of the same value though, so we'll use these aces. Then we put the rest of the pack to the side. We do need the pack in a second, so don't discard it totally out of the way, just put it to the side slightly, and then it's at this point we're going to show the spectator these, what they think is 12 cards, and we're going to show that each pair is seemingly in a red-black order. So if we deal off the first 2 cards, turn them over, and we can show that they are red and black, and place those 2 underneath. Same for the next pair. Push them across, show them as red and black, and put them to the bottom, and you want to do that for each of the 6 pairs of cards. So in that way the spectator thinks they've seen 12 cards, they think they've seen 6 pairs of cards, but of course there is an extra card in this pile that they don't realise is there. So once you've shown these 6 pairs of cards, you can then put that pile back on top of the pack, and that's basically how that 13th card is going to get lost. Once you've explained a little bit more about the trick to create a time misdirection, you can then take the first pair of cards off the top of the pack and ask the spectator to choose which of these cards do they think is the red one. Now of course, having seen the pairs, they think that there's a red and a black card here, so they're choosing which one, but of course both of these cards are actually red, so it doesn't make any difference which one they choose. They can choose either. You discard the other onto the next pair, and then switch now and say which of these 2 do they think is the black card out of the 2. Both cards are in fact black, so it makes no difference which card they choose, and you carry on all the way through the 6 pairs of cards. They can, you alternate between do they think it's a red card or a black card, and of course it makes no difference which card they choose each time. So you just place down the card they choose and discard the other one. So once they've done that with the 6 pairs of cards, you can quickly show the cards they've discarded. There's nothing really to see there. And then you can reveal the 3 cards they chose as red and the 3 cards they chose as black, much to the amazement of the spectator. Well, that is the end of this week's video, and I hope you enjoyed that one. If you did, please like and subscribe. If you've got any comments, leave them down below, and see you soon.